Are you having a tough time connecting with those around you? If so, then you need to learn how to talk to anyone with ease and confidence. And it's exactly what we're going to discuss today. I'm about to share with you the exact same process that I've used to be able to put myself out there and connect with anybody. Tip number 1 is to validate yourself more. Growing up in the Philippines, I was raised in a culture where I was taught to be very considerate of others. I was asked to just do what I was told by my elders and was often discouraged to speak up. That's why I struggled to express myself when I became an adult. Because I wasn't encouraged to share my thoughts when I was younger, I subconsciously undervalued myself. Over time, I started to believe that what I have to say wasn't good enough. Even though I know I have valid points to share, I would just keep those things to myself. And because I never said anything, I faded into the background and people didn't take me seriously. It wasn't until I got into self-development that things changed. If you can relate to that and you want to know how to talk to anyone with ease and confidence, you need to validate yourself. If not, then you'll constantly feel hesitant and you'll experience a lot of self-doubt. You'll be too afraid of being judged by others, which will prevent you from taking any risk. To fix this issue, you need to raise your self-esteem and learn to like yourself. To help you with this, get rid of the habit of constantly remembering your past mistakes and failures. Instead, make an effort to think more of your positive traits and all your previous accomplishments. And that's exactly what I did. Instead of always focusing on my perceived flaws, I trained my mind to think more about what's good about me. By doing this consistently, I realized that I'm actually a pretty awesome person. I've lived an interesting life and have done some cool things. I've also learned important lessons that can add value to those who want to hear them. By thinking more about what's good about you, you'll feel more comfortable in your own skin. You'll be less intimidated by others, and you'll see yourself as an equal to them. As a result, you'll trust yourself more, and you'll become more outspoken around people. Tip number 2 is to think more objectively. From what I've noticed, those who struggle socially tend to get too caught up with their own thoughts. They'll focus on the worst case scenario right away and exaggerate failure in their heads. They'll blow things out of proportion so much that it cripples them from taking action. In fact, as a former shy guy, this was something that I used to struggle with. Back in the day, I would often see someone that I want to connect with. But instead of making a move, I would talk myself out of doing anything. I would tell myself that they're probably busy or that I might be bothering them. And because of that, I missed out on a lot of opportunities to meet like-minded people when I was younger. As a result, I didn't have any friends and my dating life totally sucked. Frustrated with my situation, I made a decision to look more into this issue. By reading books, listening to podcasts, and watching videos, I learned valuable tools that helped me think more objectively. If you can relate to what I've been through, you have to be more mindful of what goes on in your head. If you're not doing it already, I highly encourage you to meditate and journal regularly. By doing so, you'll be able to disassociate from your thoughts. This will allow you to observe whatever you're thinking about. At that point, you now have the option to reframe your disempowering beliefs into something more helpful. It's your mind anyway. You can fill it with anything that you want. Instead of always focusing on the worst case scenario, why not do the opposite? When you get in the habit of assuming people will like you, then you'll act more friendly towards them. As a result, you'll create more meaningful connections with whoever you interact with. Tip number 3 is to stop making things about you. The fear of getting turned down prevents a lot of people from putting themselves out there. But if you want to create an active social life, you can't keep playing it safe. At the end of the day, everything you want is outside of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you would already have it. The more risk you're willing to take, the faster you'll be able to connect with like-minded people. And you won't be able to do that if you can't handle rejection when it happens to you. In fact, this actually reminds me of a client that I work with in our social skills coaching program. Because he had strict parents, he wasn't allowed to go out much when he was younger. That's why he became a pretty awkward kid. As a result, he was often teased and made fun of by others. That experience traumatized him, which made him shy and timid as an adult. Tired of feeling lonely and isolated, he made attempts to go out and connect with people again. But because he was socially inept, not many people wanted to keep interacting with him. As a result, he isolated himself for too long until we started working together. If you can relate to that and you want to get better at interacting with others, you have to get comfortable with rejection. First of all, it's inevitable that it's going to happen. So instead of avoiding it, you have to account for it and be open to it. That being said, the next time someone turns you down, you have to take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself if there's something you could have done differently. For example, were you not speaking loud enough? Were your stories too logical and hard to understand? Maybe you appeared closed off and intimidating to others? Whatever the case may be, see if there's something on your end that you could improve on. Instead of feeling like a victim, take responsibility for yourself.
Remember, the meaning of any communication is the response that it gets. Rejection is a sign that you need to do things differently. View it as an opportunity for you to improve. By thinking this way, you'll be a lot more willing to make the necessary changes to express yourself better. You'll also prevent yourself from feeling discouraged when things don't go your way. When you make small adjustments over time, it's inevitable that you'll become more socially savvy. By the way, if you're tired of struggling socially and you want to learn more about our social skills coaching program, I'd love to connect with you. Book your free consultation today by going to socialconfidencemastery.com. That link is also available in the description below.
Tip number 4 is to own whatever you're into.
As an adult, I still enjoy watching superhero movies and reading comic books. I guess you can say I'm a bit of a nerd. In fact, I can still remember reading about the X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Avengers when I was younger. That's why I was so pumped to go to theaters when they were turned into movies. In my spare time, I spend hours learning about different characters, their origin stories, and how they got their superpowers. But as a former shy guy, I would just keep those things to myself. I would never reveal that information to anybody because I was too worried about what they think of me. If you can relate to that and you want to express yourself better, you need to be more unapologetic. Own whatever it is that you're into. Give yourself permission to like what you like. At the end of the day, passion is very contagious. When you talk about things that excite you, people can't help but feel your enthusiasm. Just make sure you cater your stories to whoever you're speaking with. Make sure you use simple words to discuss anything obscure or complicated. Avoid using terms that only another person who does what you do would comprehend. Instead of talking about facts and data, you'll want to emphasize how things make you feel instead. By doing so, you'll make anything you share more relatable to whoever you're talking to. And if you think about it, the easier a story is to understand, the more we tend to like it, right? If you're not used to doing this will definitely require some preparation. If you're socially inexperienced, try to write some stories out ahead of time that you can potentially share. That way, you'll be able to organize your thoughts better. This will help you articulate your thoughts more effectively the next time you talk to someone. And whether the other person is into it or not, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it always feels good when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are all in alignment. That's why you need to make it a goal to become the most authentic version of yourself. And then, surround yourself with people who will like you for who you are. To help you out, I made a free cheat sheet that will show you how to approach and talk to anybody. You can download a free copy by going to socialconfidencemastery.com. That link is also available in the description below. Tip number 5 is to be curious about others. If you want to become a more engaging conversationalist, you have to be able to maintain your interactions. You can do this by being relatable and finding commonalities with whoever you talk to. You also have to identify when you've reached the end of a particular subject. That way, you're able to pivot to another topic to keep the conversation going. If you want to get better at bantering with others, you have to be able to come up with clever things on the spot as well. And you won't be able to do any of those things if you're not in the moment. Your mind will blank out and you'll have lots of awkward silences during your interactions. This will make whoever you're talking to feel uncomfortable, which will make them hesitant to keep hanging out with you. As someone who used to be socially anxious, I wanted so bad for people to like me. That's why I was always in my head thinking about the perfect thing to say to them. Even though I was physically present during my interactions, mentally, I was somewhere else. As a result, I found it difficult to build rapport with others. I was always tense and felt like I couldn't just be myself. That being said, if you want to get better at conversation, you have to train yourself to be more present. If you think about it, it's hard to keep talking to someone who appears to be distracted all the time, right? That's why you need to shift your focus. Take the attention away from yourself and put it on others instead. Keep in mind that we're all different. We all have things that we're naturally good at. That's why I'm encouraging you to view yourself as a student. Follow your curiosity and see what you can learn from others. The next time you talk to someone, ask yourself what's so interesting about them. Actively listen by leaning forward and nodding in agreement to acknowledge what they're sharing. Doing so will help you become more present and lessen your social anxiety as well. You'll also make anybody you interact with feel more important. Just think about it. Imagine how good it feels when the person you're talking to is truly listening to you. It's pretty amazing, right? Again, if you're wondering how to become more memorable to others, be present and practice being a good listener. By doing so, people will leave the interaction with a positive impression of you and they'll look forward to seeing you again.
If you would like to know how to interact with people more effectively, then make sure you watch this next video. That's where I give you actionable tips on how to become more social. By the end of it, you'll be able to create quality connections in any situation, so make sure you check it out.